Welcome back to Ali Farm. Now if you're getting bored with Ali, then don't panic. My next video that I do I'm sure will be on one of the two bellies, either Belly Spring or Bell and Craig. But I wanted to do a wee bit more on this farm first. This is the smallest of all of the farms I've got. And we're back on baling. This is second cut now that we're doing, so it's through into August, so time's been absolutely flying between the last video and this one. But admittedly on this game I'm doing 1 day months. I do 1 day months on most games just because it makes time go faster. But one of the reasons we're on this farm is that because they don't do the notepad mod anymore for FS22 or anything, I like to always save a game at the beginning of the day, because I always have like daily chores of feeding the cows and things to do, so it makes it very, very easy to remember what I need to do next. Now often I've got so many jobs to do in a day I don't actually get them all done in one game sitting, so what I do is if I save a game not at the beginning of the day, so like for example this game got saved when I just finished wrapping all the bales but hadn't started stacking them yet, then I continue with this game save until I get to the end of this day and the beginning of the next one, just so that at most I've got one game that's not saved at the end of the end of one day and the beginning of the next sort of thing, and that just makes it a lot easier for me to remember what I'm up to and what I'm meant to be doing. So we've wrapped all these bales. Now I have found a little trick with the wrapper I use. I'll show you the wrapper I use. It's just going here for a second, and where are we? It's this one here. It's part of the Go Wheel pack. Oops, no, I don't want to sell it. Absolutely love this little wrapper. In fact, if I go into it in the other view, in the shop view, then I think it gives me the option then. This one here, yeah, I can turn it around so you can see it. So it's a nice little bale wrapper. The reason it's got the activating with storage, without storage, or deactivate, that's because of a mod I've got downloaded. So that's not part of this bale wrapper, it's part of a mod. That means that you have to put buy rolls of wrap and put them on the bale wrappers themselves yourself. And so normally without that mod, the only options this would have is whether or not you have that roller, and I find the roller is actually worse, and makes it worse because it gets caught too often, and whether you want to set up for a front loader and 3-point hitch, or whether you want to set up for a telehandler. Yeah, I always use it on the 3-point hitch for a tractor. And one of the things I found quite annoying about that wrapper, because you've got the option within the wrapper, so this isn't one of the options when you buy it, this is each time you use it. When you've finished wrapping a bale and you go to unload it, it's got the option on whether you want to stick the bale on its end, like I've got here, or whether you want it to land on its side. Okay. Now I use the end because it makes it so much easier when I'm stacking them like this onto my blue truck. But I always found, because different tractors have their 3-point hitches at slightly different heights, they're not all uniform height in this game, depending on what tractor you've got it on, and I could never find a tractor that it was absolutely perfect for, sort of thing. Whenever you chose to put them on the end option, it would only do it about 75 to 80% of the time. So some of the bales would still land on their sides. And I think that was to do with, are you on a slight uphill face, slightly downhill face, slightly sideways face of the land, you know, it probably depended on the angle the tractor was on and everything else at the time. But you didn't have a 100% guarantee that it was going to land on its end. Well, I discovered a trick to that, to get them to land on the end 100% of the time. When you go to unload the bale, make sure the tractor is still in reverse gear, not forwards gear, and just as it's unloading, and it's right on the tip of the balance, where it's just about to tip over onto its end, and it's sort of hovering on the edge, and it's going to tip one way or the other. If you just gas the tractor slightly, so the tractor just backs up just a tiny fraction at that moment, it's enough to upset the balance of the bale when it tips onto its end. And so I've discovered that my bale's now landing on the ends 100% of the time when I've chosen the end option on the wrapper. I normally use the end option on the wrapper because I like to manually stack bales. Well, the reason I've got the two different bale trucks, in fact, is because I do love to manually stack bales, but if I've got too many, it can get a bit much. So like this time I've done, what is it, 2 fields, and I've got 49 bales to do. And I don't know, to me that seems, and farming simulators always seem like this, and I could be mistaken because I'm not a farmer in real life, but it seems to me that just doing 2 fields, and they're not even particularly large fields. I think from memory, if you go into the map view, you can even see what size the fields are, can't you? So look, so that one is, no, it doesn't tell me there. I thought there was a way to see what size a field was. Anyway, there's those 2 fields there, fields 20 and 31 that I've baled up. So they're not overly large fields, they're not tiny, but they're not overly large. And from the 2 of them, I got 29 bales. Admittedly, I did leave the, leave the mowing this time so the grass had reached its absolutely final stage. So with grass, this is another interesting thing about FS22 at least, okay, at growth stage 3 you can mow it and bale it up. At growth stage 4 you can also mow it and bale it up. Now when you mow it, visually it looks the same when you've mowed it, regardless of whether it was growth stage 3 or growth stage 4, and indeed when you windrow it, it looks the same. There's no visual difference between growth stage 3 windrows and growth stage 4 windrows. But boy, is there a difference in the number of bales you get. So from these 2 fields, if I mow the, I forgot to strap those other 4 bales down. When I'm manually stacking like this, it pays to strap them, manually stacking, sorry, it pays to strap them down as I go. Stop that, thank you. Because that way I don't accidentally knock other bales off the trailer, or off the truck in this case, that I've already got on there. So I strap the rows of 8 as I go. Like this, and it just makes it so much easier. I mean, I do love manually baling, manually stacking like this, but I don't want to make it too hard on myself. So little things I can do to make it a wee bit easier. Yeah, good. When I first started playing Farm Sim, and or no, not when I first started playing it. When I first started playing it, it was on PlayStation. There were no mods. But when I first started playing it on PC, so I sort of got introduced to mods for the first time. What I used to do is download trucks with auto load. But as a lot of you probably already know, if a bale is actually on a set of forks or something, the game doesn't recognise it as a bale while it's on the forks, and that's why you can't, for example, unwrap a bale while it's on the forks. You have to unwrap it while it's on the ground or whatever. Okay, so what I used to do is I used to buy an auto load truck. So I wasn't very good at stacking bales at that time, but then I'd pick up the bales one at a time on a tractor like this. I'd take them over and put them on the truck deck of the truck, but then as soon as I backed the tractor up so the bale forks came out of the bale would automatically load onto the deck, so they always end up really, really neatly stacked. But I wasn't sort of just driving past a bale in a field and having it automatically pick up like you can do with an auto bale truck. So it was sort of, to me, I wasn't very good at doing bales, it was having the realism of having to pick up bales and actually stick them on the truck, combined with the practicality of having them stacked neatly on the truck when you weren't skilled enough to do that yourself. But nowadays that you've got straps you can individually put on bales and things like that, and just with practice that I've had, I love to manually stack my bales like this instead. And because, as I said, when you've got too many stacked, it does get a bit much. So I have 2 bale trucks here, you'll see. One's a Ford and one's an International, but I treat both of them as Bedfords. They both look very, very much like Bedfords. Now, both of these trucks, the green one there, both trucks, first of all, are the ones where you buy the truck with the frame rails on it, and then the back for it separately, 2 separate purchases. Now, the blue one the what I call the TJ Bedford here, which I'm stacking right now. That only comes in one length of chassis, and you can get a flat deck trailer, like a flat deck foot like I've got right now on here. Actually, if I don't need that strap, I've got the other one, that's fine. You can get a low-sided grain truck, you can get a high-sided grain truck, or you can get a logging truck with the bits to hold the log in places. And of course, and the green truck, so the K Bedford, that has a lot more range of backs, and part of the reason for that is you've got a lot more range of length of chassis, and some of them are single axle, some of them are double axle. I've got the 14-foot chassis on there, which is the second to shortest. I think it goes from 12 foot up to 20 foot that you can have on that one. So I've got the second to shortest one, and there's a lot more range of backs you can buy for it. Different grain bodies, different flat decks. That Ursus bale loader one that I've got, and I'll just get a bit closer so you can see it. So it's got the arm there that automatically picks up bales and unloads off the back and stacks them 8 high. So that one's really, really good. If you don't want to fully cheat by having a fully auto-load truck or trailer, which I don't like to do, when you just drive past bales in the field and they automatically pick up and jump on the back of your truck and stack themselves, to me that's just going a bit too far in the cheating realms. And other people are welcome to do that, and I'm not complaining if they do, but I don't like to do that. So the Ursus back there is a really, really good compromise. It makes it very, very quick to load that truck, so you can load it almost as quickly as it takes to drive past 8 bales. But because it is a real thing, those Ursus trailers are real, so it still feels realistic. It doesn't feel like you're completely cheating or anything by using it. There's also a stock trailer that you can have for carrying animals, although of course with the walking cane mod, which I've also got downloaded, basically any grain truck can become a stock truck. So all you do is you put the sides on it, or if it needs sides, turn it into a grain truck. Then you throw the walking stick in the back of the truck, and the walking stick holds the animals, but it means that that truck suddenly becomes a stock truck, because you can suddenly load animals into that truck. You don't visually see them, but they are in there, and that's what I generally do, because the trucks that come as grain trucks I generally don't really like. They're not the right style. They're more kind of American or European style stock trucks rather than what I'm wanting. But I do like to actually have to drive my stock trucks to the auction house and things like that to get rid of animals or to buy new animals. So I generally use grain trucks with a cane, walking cane, the animal cane thrown in the back of it for my animal trucks. The green one, of course, with the Ursus bale back on it, which is the one I've got on there now, holds 8 bales. This blue one holds either 16 or 20, depending on how carefully you stack them. I never put more than 16 on it, and the reason why is that blue truck, and you would have seen on one of my earlier videos if you've watched all my videos, when it's heavily laden in the back, the brakes are absolutely useless on that blue truck. Now, I've got to admit, it's probably not beyond my modding skills to go and correct that. That would be pushing my level of modding. Like, you know, I can change the price of things. I can change with the radio tower thing, I changed the amount of income it gave you each hour. I can even change the capacity of trailers and trucks if I want to carry more or less weight. Oops, screwed that up, didn't I? I can change that, but that's about where my skill level for modding stops, is doing small changes like that to things. I don't have the skill level of some other people where I can, you know, completely rebuild a mod from scratch or something like that, or anything. And it's not bright enough, so I'm sure I could learn that sort of stuff if I wanted to. The problem is that I don't have the time. There's a limited number of hours each day, 24 generally, and I've got lots of stuff I like to get done and things, and to be perfectly honest, I play the farming game to relax, so I don't want to turn into something that's a job and it's going to take lots and lots of time, because I like to do it to relax. So I have no desire, shall we say, to learn to mod too much, but I could probably fix the brakes on that blue truck. It's probably within my skill level still. I don't want to. It's a very old truck. I mean, they started making the TJ Bedford in 1959, and they continued making them through to the 70s. So even, with this farm set in modern day, it's the only map I've got at the moment, I think that is. All my other maps are set in the 80s. But I mean, even by the 80s, a truck that was made in 1959 sort of thing is an old truck, and it would have things that don't work properly. It's like another mod, and it's one I don't actually use anymore because I found a better one to replace it with. But one of the Ford tractors I used to use quite a lot, the lights didn't work on it. Everything else about the mod worked really, really well, but because the mod was a port over from an earlier version of Farming Simulator through to FS22, the modder hadn't fixed the lights on it. And I must admit that AK even offered to have a look at that mod for me if I wanted, and to see if he could get the lights working. And I said, no, don't worry, because when I was using that Ford tractor, I just treated it as, hey, it's an old tractor. The lights have packed up, rats have eaten through the wires or whatever over time, so the lights no longer work. And I mean, I'm absolutely certain that when you're using old farm equipment, and let's face it, for a modern day farm, all the equipment I'm using is old. This is an old Massey 135, for example. I don't remember what years they were built in. I'm sure it was either the 60s or the 70s. It wasn't any later than that. So this is a very, very old tractor. There would be things that don't work properly on it. So when I find a mod that's been converted over and something hasn't been done right, maybe the brakes don't work very well under a heavy load, or maybe the lights don't work, whatever, rather than worrying about that and fixing that, I actually just enjoy having that fault with it. In fact, with older vehicles, obviously you wouldn't want to do this if you're modding a newer vehicle. When you're modding older vehicles, it'd be great if modders actually, sometimes they will give the option of, do you want it to look old and rusty, or do you want it to look nicely restored? And I really like it when they give you that option. But I think another one would be, do you want it to be, fully functioning, or do you want it to have little things worn out? I mean, the car I drive nowadays is 20 years old. And I'll tell you, there's little things that you just need to learn, and it's the same with any old vehicle. So like with my current car, it's got inertia wheel seat belts that wind themselves in when you take them off. Oops, that wasn't very well done, was it? But these springs, and this is a well-known problem for that make of car, the springs in the inertia wheel seat belts are very, very worn, so the seat belts don't wind in without some assistance. So it's very, very easy, if you're not aware of that problem, to take the seatbelt off, jump out of the car, and I've got to warn people, don't close the door until you've ensured that the seatbelt buckle is not caught in the door, because I don't want someone to slam the seatbelt buckle in the door and bend my door or bend my seatbelt buckle. Neither one would be good. And, it's just and bearing in mind that my car is very, very good condition, it's like mint condition really, and very low mileage and things. And even with my car, it's got that bit that's just worn out, and yes, I could replace those springs, but they're not easy to replace because they don't sell just a spring on its own. If you want to buy it brand new, you'd have to buy a whole new seatbelt thing at a very expensive cost. Or if you were going to get springs second hand somewhere, they're going to have exactly the same problem as the springs you've got on the current one, so it doesn't seem a lot of point. But I just love the way that, old vehicles, you have to accept that sometimes there's things that are, not working 100% how they should, and I really, really like it in a way when you've got a mod like that. So, I would actually rather like it if some of the modders that give you the option of, do you want this to look old or do you want it to look fully restored, when you're choosing the colour of it. They'll even have, old red, new red, and things like that. If they actually gave you the option of, and perhaps if they did this, don't tell you in advance what bits aren't going to work. Oh, that's not, no, I can see that about to go down. You could say, do you want to function 100% as new, or do you want it to be pre-owned, sort of thing? And if you choose pre-owned, then you're going to have bits that perhaps don't work quite as well as they could. So maybe the lights don't work, or maybe, and here's something that's could be a completely new feature, if you had a mod of an air pump, so you could pump up tyres and things, and have a tyre that goes down overnight. So if you got, every time you go to use that mod, you have to pump up the tyre, at least, you know, pump up one of the tyres first. It goes down overnight. I think that'd be quite neat to actually have in a mod, you know, something. And as I said, you don't tell the person when you purchase the mod in the shop. You just give them the option of buying it as new or pre-owned. And if you choose pre-owned, then expect that there's going to be, oh, come on, little bits of the mod that don't work as intended, but you're not going to know in advance what those bits are. And this is why it takes so long to bale up manually, because you have little things like this. But I do still really enjoy it, and I can see the video's going on, so I'm not going to get this truck fully loaded in this video, which I thought I might, but that's just not going to happen. But I'm actually really enjoying this. It's not annoying to me really at all. So yeah, I shall let you all go now that I've talked to you about baling and mods. And yeah, I do recommend anyone playing FS22. I don't even know if it's in FS25 or not, that bale wrapper, that blue bale wrapper. But if you're playing FS22, I do highly recommend that bale wrapper. It is a really great one, especially now that I've learned that trick of leaving the tractor in reverse, and as I unload the bale, if I'm choosing the unloader on its end option, then just hit the gas just as the bale's unloading. It's on that brink of does it tip or not, hit the gas and reverse into it slightly, bumping it, and it just knocks it over the rest of the way. So you never ever have bales that land on their sides when they're meant to land on the ends ever again. Every bale lands on its end, 100% success rate. And I do recommend both of these two trucks to anyone that wants, you know, old farm trucks on their game save. But do be warned with the blue one, and obviously you can change the colours of both. But with the blue one, as I've got them painted, the brakes do not work when it's fully loaded, and that's why I said, you know, yes, I can fit, oh come on, I can actually get 20 bales on here, but I always stop at 16. Even at 16 the brakes are pretty well worse than useless. Brakes tend to work okay when the truck's empty. Of course, a truck that's empty isn't doing you any good whatsoever. It's not helping you out in any way if a truck's completely empty. I'm going to have to stack these slightly before I put them on, because that top one's not quite lined up well enough. But yep, so I shall let you go now and catch up with you next time. I'm not sure whether I'll be on Bally Spring or Baling and Craig, but I'm sure it'll be one of those two, because once I've finished this day and once I've got all these bales in and unstacked, then I can fast forward through the rest of this day. So I'm done, I'll change maps for next time. Thanks. Bye.